All right, people. So our first review of the day is going to be for Christopher Reeve's Superman 1978. You could tell a lot about a movie by the way they kind of address it. Some people may address a movie by the director or the actor there. Like when people talk about Spider-Man, they talk about it's Sam Raimi's Spider-Man, because that's so identifiable with Sam Raimi and his style and his kind of function there. That's such a unique style to him. And much like with that, you have Christopher Reeve's Superman. When people talk about Superman and they say, no, this is Christopher Reeve's Superman. This is when we saw Superman on the big screen, the biggest screen possible here in 1978. The tagline was, "You'll believe a man can fly." And all people did believe that in 1978 when this movie came out. And this was at this point in time the movie with the highest budget at $55 million. This movie had the highest budget there. And this story tells the classic tale of Superman, also known as Kal-El, also known as Clark Kent there. This boy who was sent away from Krypton, a dying planet there that was destroyed by his father there, Jor-El, and he arrived on Earth there and picked up by Ma and Pa Kent, and then learns the meaning of right and wrong and grows up to be Clark Kent. And then eventually works at the Daily Planet and meets a great reporter by the name of Lois Lane. In this movie, really the first 40, 50 minutes of the movie is just telling that story. It's just telling where he came from, his whole origin, his backstory there growing up on Ma and Pa Kent's farm, him coming to the Daily Planet and working at the Daily Planet, and eventually to the point where he becomes you see him in the red and blue there where he is Superman. So you don't get to actually see him in the costume of Superman until I think roughly over an hour into the movie. You see that. So yeah. Oh, you gonna say something?
Yeah, it's about an hour into the movie where he fully gets his Superman act going, and yeah, what you're describing is just a classic superhero movie, and at the end of the day, that's really what this is. This is a quintessential classic superhero story from like the golden age of comic books, and it does. You said the tagline was "You will believe a man can fly." I did not grow up with this movie or Superman in general. It wasn't until like a little later in life that I got into the character. And after seeing this for the first time, you were right. I really did believe a man could fly because Christopher Reeve is Superman. There's just no debating this.
Mm. And this is directed by Richard Donner. Richard Donner, who people might know from other things. He also did Lethal Weapon. He did the Lethal Weapon films there, which were classic '80s buddy cop films there. So he was part of that as well. That was kind of one of the big things. He did go on to also do Superman 2, but he was replaced in that movie there. There was a controversy kind of going on with that of friction with the studio, with Richard Donner, with Superman 2. Were you going to say something right there?
Yeah, that's Superman 2 is a whole other conversation because that's yeah, he filmed roughly half of the movie, but then he got into a disagreement with the Salkinds, who were the producers of the original two movies, and he was replaced with Richard Lester. And so the Superman 2 that came out in theaters is like a hodgepodge movie of like scenes that Donner shot and then Lester shot kind of mixed together. Wasn't until like 2015, I believe, when an official Richard Donner cut of Superman 2 was officially released.
Mm, yes. And also Richard Donner is known for also doing Goonies, which is another '80s classic film. He also did that. And also looking back at this movie with 1978, it's like now a lot of the major actors from this movie have passed away. Christopher Reeves has passed away. Margot Kidder has passed away. Gene Hackman recently just passed away. Of course, Marlon Brando. People know he passed away a while ago. So you look at this cast, it's like, man, that also kind of just makes you kind of have a lot of kind of sad feelings there, knowing that most of these people just aren't here anymore, especially people from the principal main cast of this film. And then also Richard Donner, who also recently passed away a few years ago. But watching this movie again, what were your thoughts there on Superman 1978?
So this movie is just classic Hollywood filmmaking is how I would describe it. Like the way it's shot, the way the characters are written, and the way it's acted and presented. It's very much done in the style of golden age of Hollywood, where like there's big sweeping vistas, there's big character moments, there's big like dramatic, almost theatrical kind of acting through everyone. And there's a lot of like grand gestures, but they all feel very human. And it's kind of an interesting contrast because in the 70s, we are going through the new Hollywood era, which was a little more auteur driven and more like artistically driven. But then you have Superman, which is very much sort of like a throwback in some ways. So like the old, 50s and 60s style of Hollywood filmmaking where like the emotions are big, but they're all authentic. And, that's the part of the movie that really resonated with me is just how real and authentic everyone felt, even if, the main character is a guy in a red cape flying around the city.
Mm, yeah. And Christopher Reeves does a great job at really humanizing Superman and making him feel like just a guy, which I thought that was really great there. And then you have, of course, the classic foil there, the villain in this of Lex Luthor, who has this master plan of he wants to destroy California there and replace it with his own Utopia, and there with land development there kind of going on. But it's really amazing how he's kind of able to do that. Oh, you gonna say?
Yeah, Gene Hackman, and he's a hoot as Lex Luthor. He's kind of a goof in some ways, but like he's like a believable goof where like his plan's ridiculous, but at the same time, you believe it because like Hackman is just that good of an actor, and he plays off of Reeves so well.
Yeah, and this is a clip right here from the movie where you see Hackman as Lex Luthor. I'll play a little bit of this clip right here
Right.
and show you there. Here we go.
It's open. Come in. My attorney will be in touch with you about the damage to the door. Otis, take the gentleman's key.
I don't think he wants me to, Mr. Luthor.
All right, Luther, where's the gas pellet?
Somewhere in the back of my mind, actually. This is a little idea I was toying with.
Is that how a warped brain like yours gets its kicks? By planning the death of innocent people?
No, by causing the death of innocent people.
And you see, I mean, and a lot of people kind of compared kind of Gene Hackman's performance as Lex Luthor to, I guess, a sleazy car salesman, kind of the way he portrays him. And then other kind of interpretations where we see kind of more modern day versions of Lex Luthor, like with Jesse Eisenberg in the Snyder films. And it seems like a little bit with Nicholas Hoult in the upcoming film is more of a younger tech billionaire kind of S figure there. What's kind of your thoughts there?
Well, it makes sense given who the tastemakers are of the era. In the 70s, they were sort of like these behind the scenes sort of sleazy business guys, and nowadays the tastemakers are the rich young tech bro guys. So it makes sense that the interpretation of Lex Luthor kind of updates with the times. And yeah, I think the version in the 78 movie is very appropriate given the context of like who were the big wigs at the time.
Mm. Very nice. And Gene Hackman had already started building a resume already as a very serious, well-respected actor here in the 70s. Because in 71, he did The French Connection, which was huge there, which was pretty big there. He was also in crime drama Bonnie and Clyde there. He was also in that. I Never Sang for My Father there. So he was already starting to kind of, and he was also in The Conversation as well, the Francis Ford Coppola movie in 74, which was, so he was already starting to build this kind of reputation. And that, I think that also adds to the movie as well. You have these very well-respected actors there with Gene Hackman and also Marlon Brando in this. And I think Marlon Brando lended so much credence to this film as playing Jor-El. And he's at the very beginning in the movie and then appears later on as a hologram there. Later on, what do you think there about that? Do you think Gene Hackman and Marlon Brando add a lot more respectiveness to this movie?
I think so. I think just the acting in general adds a lot of respectability because like you have these these very serious and like trained actors doing this material, and they just make it so believable. You are right that like Brando adds a bit of credence to the material, because like he's like, when he does his speeches about like what Kal-El will become and everything like that, you believe it, and it makes the movie work just so much better. Not just Brando, but like literally everyone is on fire in this movie.
Mm. And also Christopher Reeves, he was also a Juilliard. He also did study at Juilliard, which if people don't know, Juilliard is like the Harvard of art schools. Like if you know what I mean, if you study any type of art, Juilliard is kind of the number one place you would want to go there as a student up there. So that's kind of big, very big there. Um, but yeah, and this movie, I mean, it was kind of like I said, one of the kind of big things at its time. Nobody had ever kind of seen a movie on this level before at this time in Hollywood, so it is also on that level as well. Now, when you go back and look at the effects of it, yes, they haven't. Some of them have not really aged all the best because it is from 1978. I'm about
Right.
to play a scene here where it kind of looks a little ridiculous. But did the effects kind of bother you at all with this movie?
Not at all. I mean, history happens. It was the 70s. I mean, I don't know. Like a wonky green screen isn't gonna mess with my ability to enjoy a movie.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Like you see here, I mean, he looks like a Muppet, like on Sesame Street, like you know what I mean. Like you're trying to move his legs and everything like that. I mean, yeah, it doesn't. This doesn't really
Yeah,
look
not.
all that good.
Yeah, that's not great looking, unfortunately.
That looks a little kind of ridiculous there. But when they actually do the flying sequences, I think those are still pretty decent. I think though, I think that kind of works kind of well there. I mean, it's still like okay, you can tell somebody's on a, it's very obvious somebody's on a wire, and that's still kind of there. The way they kind of just are just in kind of one place there, but it kind of doesn't matter because of the chemistry and great scene with him and Lois that just really makes you kind of overlook that. Which I think is
Exactly.
really great. And this is also another big selling point of the movie is that Christopher Reeve, Clark Kent's relationship with Lois Lane, Margaret Kidder there. What'd you think about this?
Oh, they're terrific together. You really believe that like they are falling for each other and that they have a really good chemistry with each other. Like I totally buy them as like a real couple in the context of the movie, and it never felt hokey. It just, I understand it's movie timeline, so like a lot happens in like a relatively short amount of time, but it feels natural, the entire relationship between them.
And this is a great scene, the interview scene here, where he shows up there at her place there, and she does the interview with him, and it's such a great back and forth there that they have, and how she's just instantly smitten with Superman there.
This is one of my favorite scenes in the whole movie.
Let's start with your vital statistics. Are you married?
No, I'm not.
Do you have a girlfriend?
No, I don't. But if I did, Miss Lane, you'd be the first to know about it.
How old are you?
Over 21.
Oh, you don't want anyone to know how old. Okay. And how big are you? How tall are you?
About 6'4".
6'4". And how much do you weigh?
Around 225.
225. I assume then that the rest of your bodily functions are normal.
Sorry, I beg your pardon?
Well, putting it delicately.
Mm-hmm.
Do you eat?
Yes. I do. When I'm hungry.
You do. Of course you do. well then, is it true that you can see through anything?
Yes, I can. Oh, pretty much.
And
Which I think that's just really good. I mean, that sequence is you're right. It's one of also my favorite sequences in the movie too. It's just one of kind of the best things here in the movie there.
Yeah, all the dialogue is just natural, not only in that scene, but the whole movie. It just feels like real conversations people would have. And, I just love also just like there's little moments of humor like that aren't like big jokes, but there's stuff that would really happen in real life, like the whole "do you eat" thing.
Mhm.
Kind of, it's cute. It's cute, and I like it.
Yeah. And also, thinking about point about the scene, Christopher Reeves also did a lot of working out for this role there. You know what I mean? Got to get in the superhero shape. So he did a lot of weight training for this, a lot of exercising for this to build the muscle there. And even with all that, I mean, this isn't like the physique isn't like something crazy ridiculous. Maybe you would see like in some with some superhero actors today. It's like okay, this is pretty seems pretty attainable there that you would kind of do and kind of look like with him as Superman. So that's also a thing there with that, which was very nice to see. Um, it is a little bit more of a slower paced movie than what I remember. I think I remember Superman 2 more than I remembered Superman 1 because I think a lot more stuff kind of happens as far as action wise in Superman 2 there. What's kind of your thought?
Yeah, Superman 2 is definitely the more, faster paced movie than Superman 1 is. This one is more of like, you know, an it's like a grand vista of a movie. It like shows you, a grand view of like the world and times of Superman. And, that does lead to some points where the pacing is a little on the slower side, particularly in the back half of the movie. And if there is one problem with the movie is that, the back half of the movie isn't as clean as the first half, but at the same time, it's such an interesting vista that you are seeing that I really didn't mind, even if in the back of my mind I did notice like, yeah, this doesn't quite the back half isn't quite as smooth as the front half.
Mm, okay, yeah. And do you think that point kind of changes when you first see him as Superman, or just you think later on in the movie there?
I think it's mainly once he basically everything when he does his confrontation with Lex Luthor in his office. There's a pivotal scene where like Lex Luthor like does a aha thing with Superman, and I think from that point on, the story's a little wonky, and the sequence of events isn't as like tight as the preceding events, unfortunately.
Mm, yeah. And I mean, I don't want to forget to talk about this. I mean, John Williams score, 1978 with his Superman score. Is it the greatest score of all time? You think?
It's certainly up there. It's in the top five, and I think John Williams probably has like at least three out of those five top five spots for sure.
I mean, he's got one of the most amazing resumes for any composer ever. Superman, Indiana Jones, Jaws,
Star Wars.
Star Wars. I mean, I mean, he's in competition with himself as far as greatest scores of all time. There.
It's kind of unfair, honestly, to other composers because it's like you have other composers like just throwing some names out there like Hans Zimmer and Danny Elfman who have done and recently Michael Giacchino that have done great work, and they're just like I have to compete with John Williams. Like, what am I even doing here?
And then I'll play a little bit of. I know YouTube is a little funky about the music. I'll play just a little bit of it, like 20 seconds here. But
Right.
just this is still a score used today for like everybody wants to have that Superman. Like they just still kind of replicate his score for Superman. Like other characters, other superheroes, like you see, like you mentioned, other famous composers like Hans Zimmer or maybe like Danny Elfman, like who did the Batman score, which Batman
Mhm.
came in 11 years from this movie. Like Batman still has other scores that are pretty like, okay, this is pretty still big, but I
True.
think nothing has been able to top what John Williams did with his Superman score and what Superman score was. Uh,
Completely agree with that.
and it's just really, yeah, really just such a great score there. Like I said, it's hard to say. I mean, if this is the best John Williams score, do you think it's the best score for any superhero movie ever?
Boy, that is a really hard question because I am such a big Batman fan that like I can't, part of me says I can't put it above Danny Elfman or like the Giacchino score or the Shirley Walker score for Batman, but like it is certainly up there. If it's not a top 10, it is definitely a top 5 of all time for sure.
Yeah. And you'll see it repeated. Superman the animated series, they repeated that. If you people watch that in the opening, it's basically a rendition of that as
Yeah,
well.
it's like a riff on that for sure.
Yeah. Do you think this is the best interpretation of Superman that we've gotten? Is this the best Superman movie still?
Um, as far as live action movies, I think so. Superman is weird because there's been a lot of really good interpretations of Superman on TV, like with, Superman and Lois and Smallville, and recently My Adventures with Superman have all been really good interpretations. But like the movies have been kind of wonky in terms of quality with the character. But this movie I think is the best live action Superman movie for sure.
Mm, so, and recently, the last Superman movie that we've gotten, at least in the big screen, since that's not going to be this James Gunn movie upcoming, was the Zack Snyder film.
Right.
Well, you also had Superman versus Batman as well, but just a solo Superman movie. There was Man of Steel.
Indeed, it was.
You had that one there. And I don't want to beat up on Man of Steel, too much or anything like that. I'm not really a really big fan of this movie myself. I think it misses the fundamental concepts of Superman. But what were kind of your thoughts here on Man of Steel?
Oh boy. I am not a huge Zack Snyder fan. Just not even just his DC movies, just in general. I'm not a huge Zack Snyder fan, and I don't really hate Man of Steel, but I agree with you that he just does not really understand the concept of who Superman is as a character, and unfortunately, that's a kind of a big problem when you're making a Superman movie. If you don't really get the fundamental core of who the character is,
Mm.
that's just not really going to work as a movie, about that character.
Yeah. And I think, this is so many kind of issues with that movie, especially just some pivotal things I think it gets wrong. Most notably, Pa Kent. And you have a great actor in Man of Steel with Kevin Costner as Pa Kent, who I think does really well. But it just the kind of ideology there. Are you gonna say something or?
Yeah, I just totally agree with you that like Costner is a good actor, but it's all about it's the writing and just the thought behind the character, and it's not like I'm not coming at it from it only has to be this way to be good. I'm open to new interpretations of characters all the time. It just has to be like, it just doesn't really make sense, Man of Steel, just as a whole. To me, it doesn't, at least.
Mhm. Yeah. And like a scene like this really exemplifies that here in Superman 1978, where you have him talking to him there.
Mhm.
Yeah, no, I shouldn't.
Yeah, I know. You can do all these amazing things, and sometimes you think that you will just go bust unless you can tell people about it, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, every time I get the football, I can make a touchdown.
That's for sure.
Every time.
Yeah.
I mean, is it showing off and somebody's doing the things he's capable of doing? Is a
No.
bird showing off when it flies?
No. No, now you listen to me. When you first came to us, we thought that people would come and take you away because when they found out, the things you could do, and that worried us a lot. But then a man gets older and he thinks very differently and things get very clear. And there's one thing I do know, son, and that is you are here for a reason. I don't know whose reason, whatever the reason is. Maybe it's because, I don't know. But I do know one thing. It's not to score touchdowns. Huh?
Thanks, Dad.
You have that great moment, and then just a little bit after this scene, you see that Pa Kent he succumbs to a heart attack there.
Right.
And then there's a funeral sequence, and then you have this kind of really line that I think really encapsulates his sense of duty and sense of others, caring for others there as well.
All those things I can do. those powers. And I couldn't even save him.
And that kind of really humanizes him in the way there, as opposed to something like in Man of Steel where he gets swept up in a hurricane and then there's like he could have saved him. It's like he did have the powers to save him there.
Yeah.
Um,
I just love how, like, I just love it in not just superhero movies, but in movies in general, where like not everything has to be a big moment. Like not every like big event in a character's story has to be a big thing. It can just be like a small thing, then a small truth that they realize, and that's just as poignant as like the biggest battle they ever have. And it's another example of like why this particular Superman movie works so well, is because the little moments add up to make a whole character and a whole vista to be a part of.
mm, yeah. So I still do think that this is possibly still the best Superman movie that we've gotten. Everything. And like I said, they've done some great stuff on TV. I'm a fan of Smallville. I know Smallville, it had its, monster of the week type thing, CW show type thing there.
Right.
It did have that. I will still say, I mean, I don't think we've ever gotten a bad Lex Luthor. I think so far all the actors who played Lex Luthor have been very good. There.
Yeah, I mean they've been. Yeah, I mean, even Jesse Eisenberg was okay at points.
Yeah, even he was okay. I mean, John Cryer was very surprisingly how decent he was as Lex Luthor.
Yeah.
And Lois there, which you did have that. And yeah, I trailed off. I didn't continue watching Superman and Lois very much. I watched. I thought the first season was good. I haven't watched the other seasons of it, but I did enjoy My Adventures with Superman. I think that's really great there. What they do with that show.
Yeah, I haven't seen enough of Superman and Lois, but My Adventure with Superman I really liked. I really like the sort of anime interpretation of Superman, and it just has a lot of fun with the concept of Superman like just being a citizen in Metropolis, and it's got a lot of charm to it, and I dig it quite a bit.
Yeah. And then you got some controversy kind of going on with James Gunn's Superman from just simply stating what Superman is all about. From people around the internet going, Superman is woke now. James Gunn's Superman is about an immigrant that came from other places there. And filmmaker said that David Cornsey led film also comes at a particular time when people are feeling loss of hope in other people's goodness. So yeah, it's super woke now. It's not Superman anymore.
And boy, media literacy. We have a problem with media literacy in the country, but I find that fascinating. That like the idea of someone being a good person is like a controversial statement. That's all I'll say about it.
Especially for a guy that's, I mean, literally an illegal immigrant. I mean, guy that's an alien from another planet there. But I don't want to divert too much on it. But I am looking forward to James Gunn to see what he does with his Superman film there. And even the score for this film is very reminiscent of John Williams' score for Superman, as you see in some of the trailers there with this. And James Gunn, this is going to be his, I guess I know he already did The Suicide Squad, but this is going to be like his official, like big, this is the start of my new DC universe here with Superman with this film. Are you having high hopes for it?
Yes, this is my most anticipated movie of the summer, just because I very much trust James Gunn as a film creator, and I just really like this vibrant version of Superman we see, and it'll be really interesting. The only I do wish the score was a little different. Maybe the film will surprise me because like it hasn't come out yet, but I am very much looking forward to this.
Yeah. But back to 1978 Superman here. Do you have any issues with 78 Superman?
My only issue is just like I said earlier, the back third of the movie is not as clean as the first 2/3, just because once Lex Luthor reveals what his evil scheme is and like how Superman is going to wiggle his way out of this jam, it gets a little wonky with the storytelling, and the ending it doesn't end as great as it could have been. So that's really the only issue I have with it. Otherwise it's fantastic.
Yeah. This is classic, just superhero, not even just maybe I'd say superhero storytelling, just classic film telling here. Like you said, with the sweeping vistas, with this kind of very minimal story here. It's not a huge CGI fest of people going Dragon Ball Z in the city and crashing into buildings and everything falling on top of each other. Like it's just very like small kind of story here, with this character of Clark Kent and becoming Superman, dealing with this villain of Lex Luthor and his dastardly plans that he must stop. There with that, and I mean, I talked about this a little bit with Sage, who's going to be coming on the show later, rated in for maturity. There, I mean, when you think about like a fictional character who is a mascot for, I guess, if you had to pick a mascot for the United States, either maybe Mickey Mouse or Superman would probably be that mascot, right? If you had to kind of pick that one person
Right.
to kind of represent everything, supposedly of what the United States is supposed to be about.
Yeah,
Um,
those for sure.
yeah, you kind of have that kind of going on, and so iconic. And then, this movie, having so many, other films kind of reference it. I mentioned, talked about like Sam Raimi's Spider-Man film. Like there's references to, him, the Superman movie there, where he rips open his shirt and you expose that you had that. In the Wonder Woman movie, you had it where there's a scene in the alleyway where she, deflects the bullet, like in the alleyway here in Superman, where he catches the bullet, where him and
Mhm.
Lois there being with a mugger there. You have that going on. It's a very slower movie. It's a very dated movie. You'll keep that in mind. People kind of coming into it if they've never seen this before. It might be refreshing to some people, given how many crazy superhero movies we have nowadays with all these things going on, and this character has to set up this other character, and we got to do a stinger at the end, and all these other things. This might be super refreshing to people to have something like this, to kind of see of where it kind of really all kind of started there. And even before this one, you had George Reeves who played Superman. There you had that actor there. Funny enough, I mean Ben Affleck played Superman, Batman, and Daredevil. I mean he kind of played that.
Weird arc of film history Ben Affleck has with these superheroes.
Yeah. The craziest thing, I mean, is the reversing time at the end. I think that's kind of the kind of wacky, craziest thing there. I Maybe I'm not too super familiar with the Superman law. I don't think he can actually. I don't think he's ever done that before.
No, that's not. That's no power that he's ever had in like any source material, and that's a prime example of what I'm talking about when I say the ending isn't as clean as the rest of the movie, because like the ending is a giant Deus ex machina, and that kind of stinks, unfortunately.
Yeah. So that's one of my big kind of issues and sticking points with the movie. There is that happens. But otherwise, I mean, incredibly strong film with incredibly strong actors, classically trained actors, legendary actors that you have in this film, from a legendary director. I would give it, mm, I guess, a high peak order. What about you?
Yeah, this is it's like you said, this is a classical Hollywood film, in all its glory. Whether you like it or not in this day and age, that's up to you. But at the same time, I really encourage people to see, not only just older superhero films, but older films in general, to appreciate the art form. And as a piece of art, this is a grand spectacle. It's not a perfect spectacle, but you don't have movies like Tim Burton's Batman or Sam Raimi's Spider-Man or the MCU as we know it without this movie. And there's a reason, because it's great. Not a perfect movie, but this is still a peak cinema movie for sure.
Mm, yeah. Like I said, this movie was the movie with the biggest budget ever up until this point. One of the most expensive movies. It was $55 million. Made a box office of $300 million. This was the second highest grossing movie of that year when it came out. Can you guess in 1978 what was the number one highest grossing movie of the year?
What in Star Wars was 77? Was it Jaws?
It was not Jaws.
Was
It was
it?
Jaws 2 was number 7 though.
Oh, okay. Was it a re-release of Star Wars?
It was not. I'll give you a hint. It was a musical.
A musical? Is it Cabaret with Liza Minnelli?
It is not. You want me to tell you?
Yeah, what do we got?
It was Grease.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. That makes sense.
So Grease, on a budget of 6 million, made 396.3 million.
Whoa.
Yeah. So
Who would have thought that John Travolta and Olivia Newton-John would have the power to take down Superman and Lois Lane?
yeah. Well, hey, them tight pants and that Grease, man. I guess it worked out.
Hey, you know, when you have the Bee Gees on your soundtrack, you can only expect great things.
And then John Williams, his musical score was nominated there. Best film editing. This film was best music original score and best sound at the 51st Academy Awards there. And it's received a Special Achievement Academy Award for the visual effects of this, for its groundbreaking use of special effects in science fiction fantasy storytelling. The movie's also in the National Film Registry there for its cultural significance as well there.
Rightfully deserved.
Yeah. And do you know what beat out the best music original score, John Williams, for Superman?
Oh boy. Was it Grease?
It was a movie called Midnight Express. There.
Oh, okay.
Giorgio Moroder is the guy who won it. So he ended up winning there for best. He beat out John Williams. I guess history. I guess it's not too kind to that. I don't know. Maybe it is a great classical score. I don't know. Midnight Express.
I mean, Marauder is a great composer, so like I don't doubt the quality of the score, but you know, I just have never heard it or the movie, to be honest.
Yeah. So that's what beat out there, that classic score there. Yeah, very much so. Yeah, absolutely. Classic film here, 1978, Superman. Two peaks there for this movie. Did you see it? Did you have it on DVD, Blu-ray, or did you see it on streaming?
I saw it on streaming. When I was a kid, I know I rented the VHS of it, but like I just don't remember what I thought of it when I was a kid, to be honest. I was too obsessed with Batman and Spider-Man, to be honest, kid, to really give any other superhero a fair shake. So, you know, saw it in hindsight on Max, you know, like a couple months ago. So I'm glad I did.
Very nice.